for 5 minutes.
Okay.
Hello, Sanjay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, Sanjay, the Ravichandra will be logging within 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, we are waiting for that.
Yeah, okay. Hello, Sanjay.
Yes.
Yeah, Sanjay, the Ravichandra facing some internet issue right now.
Mm-hmm.
So please carry on the session. He will be logging. He will be logging with class, okay? During a class.
Okay, so other people are coming, or should I continue?
Yeah, please carry on the session right now. There will be join. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Kavita, you there?
Yes.
Okay, so I think you are the only. So we will continue on that. Okay, so is there any doubt from the last class? Do you have any doubt? Or should we continue to the next?
No, I don't have any doubt. You continue.
Okay. So today we'll do some complex conditioning. Like yesterday we were introduced about some tasks. like row count, variables, condition, and yes, row count and variables only, and adding a derived column. Okay, derived column, which means extracting or adding a new column from the source itself. Okay, and the simple thing we did last time was we added a timestamp, which means the rows, the columns which we are getting from the source, but we have created a new column with them, and there we put there we given some date stamp, which means the things which we do like get date we created, and so that the timestamp will be created for each row. Okay, uh, and now we will do some new work. So for today's work, I will create a new package, and there you will have the revision as well as some rework also, and we'll try to do work. Okay, so as you can see here, this is a fresh page, so I'm just renaming it. So today's task is to work on conditional split. Okay, so today we will learn about a new tool. It's easy to use, but its name saying that conditional split, which means the data which we are getting from the back end, okay, or the source, will be splitted into uh, n parts, which means it can be splitted into more than two parts. And the thing we are saying like split it into parts, which means as we do in SQL TSQL, the where condition, which means we want a set of data in table 1 where the year of, I'm taking an example, so suppose we have sales data, and there we will have a year value, which means we have this number of sales in year 2015 and this number of sales in the year 2016. So we just want to create a copy of data, not a copy of data, which means a different set of data, okay, according to the years. So there we use the conditional split, but the source will have all data, and when while we are fetching the data in SSIS, we will split the data, which means according to the years. Okay, so let's see how we will do that. Okay,
Okay.
and in the same time we did some work on row count, and row count is the only work of row count is to count the uh, rows, which means how many rows has been passed or how many rows has been processed through this data flow. Okay, and then the count, which means the count of the rows is passed to the some variable which we created, like which we created in last class. We passed that count value to a variable, and we can use that variable in our SSIS. Like for an example, we can store that variable in our SQL table. It's a kind of creating a simple log table. Okay,
Okay.
which means creating a log table with time, like in the first run at that time we processed this number of rows, and obviously we are creating a detail that it will be rerun again. Okay, so suppose we have scheduled this package, so we want to know that when we have scheduled it, so which means suppose taking an example of we have scheduled it for daily basis, so how many
Mm-hmm.
run was processed, okay, how many rows has been processed in each run, that can be stored into a table, so that we can take a look on that and we can find like what was the row count, how many rows has been processed in last run. Okay, and so the next thing we will be learning in this class will be the derived column conditional and the SQL task, which means we will we will write some SQL statement, and through this SSIS, how to run that SQL task. Okay, like simply if we suppose we have to truncate a table, which means before loading a data to that table, we have to truncate it, which means we have to clean the data. We don't want our previous data. So in that case, we use this SQL task. This is the simple case. Okay.
Okay.
So now coming back to Visual Studio, and we'll try to. So now for that, to create an example on that, I have a data in an Excel sheet. I have a sales data in an Excel sheet. For that, I will, so we are in the control flow tab. Okay, so the main two tabs which we are working on is control flow and data flow. And about other three tabs, we will work on later. Okay,
Okay.
and as we know, in control flow, the control flow from the name is saying it's the control of the package, which means in a package, what are the different tasks we will be doing. Like first we will truncate the table, then we will load the data, and after loading the data, we have a row count, and after loading the data, we have to write that row count to a log table. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
we have three steps at present. So the main part will be the data flow task, and before that we want to truncate the table. So now we will use the SQL task, and after that we want to write the that variable row count to a uh, log table, which we will create as a SQL table. So again for that we will use the SQL task. So for now, as for this, we'll have three tasks. Okay. So for now I'm just deleting it because first let's create the data flow. We will come back to this and create a control flow again. So at present first we will create the data flow. So when we double click on it, it will simply navigate us to the data flow window.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So after this we will have Excel source, which is, as I am saying, that I have a sample data in an Excel sheet. So if we have data in Excel sheet, then I want that in. Okay. I'm just closing this window. Okay. And now we have to configure this Excel source connector. Okay. So double click on it. I'm just doing it quickly. We don't have any, so create new, and in this browse for the file. And yes, I want to just make you something here. Like for Excel Correction Manager, there is no many options, but these three things are there. So from the Excel sheet, it will automatically detect which version it will use, and if your table has the first row as a header, okay. So in Excel, how you will decide that this row is a header of a table, okay. So generally, the first row will be the column name, okay.
What if like second or third row is my column name and the first two rows are empty?
Okay, so in that case, we can skip the starting three rows. There is an option. Do you want to show me on that, or first you want to complete this task? So we have an option. If you
Okay.
suppose you have a column header in the third row or in the fourth row. Okay, so in that case, there is a just give me I will show you that where we can configure that. For now, we have created the connection with that Excel file, and after that, we will select the sheet or table name. Okay, so it is loading. So we have this, and when you will preview the data, so from the in that Excel, I have first row as a header, so it is taking as a default value. Okay, so for our case, it is working fine. But suppose we have something from the third row, so what we can do in that case? So I'm just clicking OK. Okay, so when you will right click on the Excel source, okay, so there will
Okay.
be a property window. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and there you will get a option like open row set. Okay, here, and here you will define like from which point you want to start. Okay, so we do like we do in Excel how to reference a cell. I'm just opening that Excel sheet. So no, sorry. This was the file which we were using. So you can see here the location of this row, third row will be what? E3, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the width, which means the last column will be
I see.
I3. Okay, so I think we can write that value. I didn't remember the exact syntax, but we can come back to this, and here we can simply write E3 to I3.
There's a space. So order dollar space. If it is
E3, yes,
okay.
which means we're defining the open row set from this.
Okay.
Okay, so in that case, so now it is showing some error, but we can do in the same way. For that, I have to confirm like what is the exact syntax to write this value. Okay,
Okay.
but in this way only we can define like we have the starting row from this. Actually, some dollar value will come because I think there will be no space. I think. Okay, but I will let you in the next class then how to configure it exactly.
Okay.
For now, I'm going with the simple table. Okay, and after that, we learn how to use this row count, which means we want to know that from the source how many rows we got, and that we will put into a hold a second. Okay, so after row count, and yes, to work with row count, we need to have a variable. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so for that I will create a variable. So if you are unable to find this variable window, you can have from the view and other windows. There you will have variable window. Okay,
Okay.
so you can have different windows here, and here I will create a new, and the variable name will be code count, and it has some scope, which means what will be the scope of this variable, which means in which a part of this package we want to use this variable. So we have selected the scope of this variable to the whole package. Okay, so if you want to use in some part of it only, so we can define that here. Okay, and its data type will be integer, and the initial value will be 0. Okay, just we are defining variable properties. Okay, and there we have expression also. If so, for that we are not going on this expression, but we will work on this in future.
Okay.
Okay, so double click on the row count, then it will ask for the variable. So we have created this variable, so simply select it. Okay, so the work of this row count is to simply pass the row count to the variable, nothing else.
Mm-hmm.
And now we will add a derived column. We did in the last class, like we will add a timestamp and do some conditional adding of column, which means we will have some new column based on our condition. Okay, double click on it. Okay, so here you will have the source columns which we are getting from the Excel sheet. Okay, and now I will add as a timestamp. And yes, you want this column to be as a new column, add as a new column, and the expression for it will be the get date. So you can have get date here. And yes, in SSIS, writing expression is something different thing. For that, you have to learn on the SSIS expression. Or for that part, you can Google one, and there you will find so many books and tutorial on this SSIS expression. So it's easy to use, but there is no requirement as just to go and learn this expression language. Okay.
Okay.
And the next column will be something like conditional. Suppose we have an amount column here. Okay. So we know that we will be having some amount for each order, and we want to create a flag that it has this order has met our minimum amount value. Suppose the minimum order amount value we are deciding is like if its amount is greater than $100, then it's okay. And if the order amount is less than 100, then it's not good. Let's create a flag for this.
Okay.
So now uh, let's name it as a flag amount. Add as a new column, and yes. So we know we need to write some if-else conditions, like if the order value is greater than this, then we want true. If order is less amount order is less than 100, then we want to flag it as a false. Okay, which
Okay.
means simply writing a text value T and F.
Mm-hmm.
So for that, the way of writing expression is amount if amount is greater than 100, else you want F. Okay, so we are not using if else, which means that the way of writing these things in expression is this. So you will find something new way. Okay, so now how we will read this formula? It is saying that if the order amount is greater than this, okay, so what will be what you want? The next after this question mark will be the true condition, and after that, if else, what you want for the other cases. Okay, so let me confirm this formula. The formula. Yes, the way of writing is this. Okay. So there is no need to specify that if the order is small than 100. So obviously, which will not satisfy this condition. Obviously, that will be the order of less than 100. Okay. For that cases we are giving false. Click OK. And now we will test that we are correct up to now or not.
Okay.
So for that I'm using this again, so ignore this part. I'm just using it to get the data viewer. So we can have an enable data viewer, which means on the run we can have a window which will present the how we are getting the output from these 3 steps. Okay, so let's run this and see if two derived columns are coming or not. Sorry. We run some different package. Okay, stop it. The package which we are working on is this.
Yes.
Okay, so start it. Okay, so our data viewer is working and it is saying that how you are getting the rows. And here we are getting the values. Okay, so we have added some timestamp, which means at which time we are running this package, or at what time this row has been processed through that exercise package. So it's doing nothing but it's putting a get date, which means the date stamp for every row. And now let's check our flag is working or not. So if there is for all rows we are getting true, or if there is any false. So we have false here. Okay, so for this row let's check it if its amount is less than 100 or not. Yes, we have a amount column here, and for that we are having less than 100. Okay, so obviously we want to flag this as a false, so we are getting that f value here, and for rest we are getting true. So our condition of deriving a column is working. Okay, and for rest we are getting true.
Okay.
So up to now, which means we are designing some data flow. Now we are processing the data. As we were earlier talking about, SSIS is a ETL tool. Okay, which means it will extract the data, transform the data, and then it will load the data, which means loading to the destination. Okay, so now we have completed en and t part, which means we have extracted the data from the source excel source and have derived some column, which means we have transformed the data from the source, and now we will load the data. Okay.
Okay. Generally, like, I have a question here. So
Sorry.
we are using row count. I have a question actually.
Okay, okay, come on.
You are using that row count, right? Until
Mhm.
unless we use that variable in in other things or like for some other purposes, we don't need it, right?
Yes, but why we did this is because we will use, okay, we haven't completed the package
Yeah,
yet.
yeah. I mean that was my question. It is not that why you use, but because anyhow, we can see that 830 rows are written into something like that. If you want to use in some other places like with that variable, then it is mandatory, yes, right?
Sorry, I was getting echo in your voice.
Uh, Nothing. Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, so do not worry about it. What I got is like you are saying that why we are using this row count. Okay.
No, no. Here, like for it, you want me to teach that, you want me to teach the purpose of that. That's why you have used it, right? Otherwise, it is not needed, right?
Yes,
Till
exactly,
now.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
That- So we will use this in future, not in future,
Okay.
but in after designing this data flow. We will use this variable in our control flow. As I was talking about, we will have two SQL tasks here. Okay, so in that we will use.
Okay.
So we are just processing the data. So we are actually we are debugging the thing. So it is better to check check the flow at the time of designing. So now we are confirmed that these three parts are working. Okay. So now let's design the other parts, and then last part we will stop this. So we are in debugging mode. Stop this, and yes, now we're in design. I'm deleting this. Okay, so we have processed the data, we have added something. Okay, and now we will add this to the destination. And destination part of obviously, and let's push this data to a SQL table. Let's create a new table for this. Okay, I have named it as order with amount table. And it will create a table in our destination, which means SQL table. Let's see if it is there or not. And at the same time go to the mapping. Okay, so by default it has created a one-on-one mapping for the source column to the destination column. Click OK. Okay, so the data flow task is good, which means we have designed the data flow, which means it will extract the data, derive some column and load it to the our destination, and in between we are just counting the row and passing this row count to a variable, and we will use that variable now. Okay, so suppose we will rerun this package again and again. Okay, and the user is saying that I will update this Excel. Okay, so whenever he gets a new order, so he will just add a new column in the this Excel sheet. Okay, so in the
Mm-hmm.
last he will add a column. So you can think like when we have run this package for one time, so whatever the orders which were in the earlier version of this Excel is there in the that table. Okay, and now we want to rerun this package. So in the next case what will happen, like this will copy the whole data again and post the whole rows from that Excel sheet to the destination, but we do not want them because we want to have the new rows only, which we have added in the Excel. Okay, so it's better to clear our destination table and re-update it from the source. Okay, so the table will be updated from this Excel sheet again. So for that, if we want to this package rerunnable, so for that we will use this SQL task to clean that table, which means suppose we have run this table for one time. I'm just executing for a single time. So it will process that 830 rows and come back to this. And the table name which we created is this order with amount, and let's select the service one. Okay, so we run the ETL. Why we are getting those here? Because that data flow is completed its task. So now and this we are getting some 830 rows. Okay, and in future again, suppose some user came to this Excel sheet and in last he has added a new value here. I'm just extending this table range, and here he has created a new order. 78. Okay, so it will have some. I'm just copying some value from the previous rows. Okay, so we have this new order here. Okay, suppose the user has updated it and control save it, and now when we rerun this package again, so we want this column, so we will rerun this data flow again. So in that case it will not take that last row, but it will rewrite the whole table again.
Okay.
So in that case, we do not want to populate our destination table with duplicate values. We want that only last. So it's better to reload the data, which means our destination table will be cleaned again, and then we will load the whole data from the source.
Okay.
So when we come back to this now, here you will see like it will be more than 600. Okay, 1600 rows either, because the 830 rows were from the first run, and then in the next run it has got some 831 rows.
Okay.
So we want the data from the Excel sheet, but we do not want that repeating values. For that we will simply, what a best method is to truncate the table. Hold a second, and now we will see that where we will use this and how we will use this SQL task for a simple truncate work. So come back here, design a formula like what will be the SQL for the truncating table. And the table name is this. So when we run this last line, the table should be truncated. Okay, so there are no rows in the table. Let's see here. Okay, so our table is empty. So we want to run this single line. I'm copying it and coming back here, and when we double click on this SQL task, so it has some settings here. Okay, so here we will go with the default, and just provide the required things like what will be the connection, which means on which table or in which database it will run execute this SQL task. So we have already a connection there to that database, and now we will provide the SQL statement. Okay, so that's it for basic configuration of execute task. Okay, now we will run this package again. So every time what it will do is load the whole table, which means it will reload the table from the source. Let's see if it is completed or not. So it has been completed. So come back here in the SQL and check if how many rows are there. So we have 831. Okay, so it has reloaded the data from the Excel sheet, and we have, whenever we rerun this, so it will not increase the row count. It will only refresh the table data with source, irrespective of rerun, irrespective of how many times you have run this SQL. So again I have run this, so it will again truncate the table and load the data again. And again you can check here that the row count will be the same. Okay, so is it clear, or you still you're facing some difficulty?
It's clear, but why do you have two control flows? Like you can put it in one, right?
Sorry, come again.
Now, there are two flows, right?
The first, yes, control flow, we have two tasks. The first task will be before loading data. Okay, we want to clean the table. Okay, before loading the data, uh, we want to clean the table, which means we can have this SQL task after this, but we want pre-cleaning before loading the data. That's why we have put this SQL task. After cleaning that table, we will have the data flow. In data flow, we will only talk about the data flow of data. So truncate a table is a task, control task. So the control flow will decide that in this package, in this package SQL deriv, what will be the different controls or steps. Okay, so first step will be the truncating the table, and after that we will load the data. So loading the data and transforming the data will only be in this data flow task.
Okay, got it.
Okay, so we are defining the steps in the control flow and the data flow, which means ETL work will be done in this data flow task. Okay.
Okay.
So now I'm stopping it, and now I want to log the row count. Okay, like uh, in each run, like we have run this package for 4 times. Okay, and in 4 times we want to take a look on that how many rows were processed in each run. Okay, so for that we will create a log table, and in this we will first create a table, and for that I have pre-prepared SQL statement, I think so. Yes, here it is. I will explain on it. So I will create a table here to store that row count value. Now you will find like why we are using this, why we use that row count. So are you comfortable with T-SQL statements? We are not using some very complex, but we are using a simple SQL, like creating a table, truncating a table.
Yes, I am.
Okay. So I think this statement is clear to you, or do I need to do you need explanation on it?
No.
because it's a simple table, and in that table we are defining two columns. The run date will be the date, and the second will be the row count. So obviously the row count which we will get from that row count task will be an integer. Okay, we will just pass that variable value to this row count. Okay, just create the table first. Oh, sorry, I think I created that table in master. Okay, so this query is connected with the master database. So the table is gone to the master DB. So, but we want the table in this Northman database.
Okay.
Now we have the table here. Okay, so we have created the table in the destination. Come back to here, and we'll have this SQL task to execute, and now we will use the variable value. Okay, hold a second. Okay, so to insert a value in this table, the statement will be like this. Just disable these lines. Clean this. So this statement will simply add some sample value to the table. Okay, insert into this table, and the data for that table will be from this statement. Are you comfortable with this SQL statement, or do I need?
No, it's good. But while you are using again the database name, anyhow you are creating the table in that database, right? By in the inserting.
No, it's okay. Okay, hold on a second. It's a standard method to go with the database name. Okay, so if you are not using them, then it's also okay. Okay,
Okay, right? Yeah.
the package will execute. Okay, so it's standard way to use that. So suppose Control Z, and if we have something here in master. Okay, so now the insert will only go to this database only, not to the master table. It will not search to the master table. So actually we are defining the address of the that table. Okay, nothing else, by providing
But
the
it's
plain
not
text.
mandatory, right? It is like
No, no,
standard, but it is, right?
yes, exactly. It's not mandatory. So you can have. So while I'm just executing this line.
In the
So
select statement, what does to indicate the second column?
okay, so in select statement get date, which means we will use the timestamp, and that timestamp will be put into the run date, which means that we have two columns now in the SSIS row count.
Yes.
Okay, so this value will go to the row date value, run date, and the second value I'm just giving a simple text number, nothing else, as a row count. Okay, so when we execute this line, we will have something. Okay, so this line select will return the date, and which means it will return two columns with some value.
Why are you giving 2? Why not 0?
Yes, you can simply write it. I'm just saying to how to write an insert statement, but uh, okay, so you can give anything here. Okay, so
Okay.
but we will not use the same statement in the that SQL task, but we want this number 0 or 2, whatever we are providing here. This number we will be getting from that variable in SSIS. Okay, So let's see how we will pass the variable value using this statement and the SQL task, and that task will execute on this. The task will execute to insert the row. Come back to here, and now let's see how we'll define this thing. Again, select statement. The next thing we are learning is like SQL task with variable passing. Okay. Parameter mapping we call. Okay, so to do that we do not know the value, so we will put question mark. Okay, and now we will paste this value. Providing of question mark is like creating a variable in this SQL statement, which means the value to this question mark will be passed from the variable value.
Okay. Oh, so the number 2 you just put to show me, right?
Sorry, I'm getting echo in your voice.
In the select statement, I was asking you, right, about that too. Why did you put that in the select statement? So you were just showing me as an example, like how to write that query, right?
Exactly.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, now come back to the parameter mapping. So here we have to provide a new add, and here we will select that variable which we were populating from the row count. So, and that variable name was this user row count, and its direction will be input long, and yes, it's or 0. So the why we are providing it as a 0 is like just talking okay. Here we have used this question mark in the SQL statement. Okay, so the suppose we have some more question mark here. Okay, so the first question mark will be treated as a 0. So what it does, the SQL task does is like it will map with the 0. It will uh, rank this question mark. Suppose we have one more column with some question mark again, like this. Okay, and some we want this value to be passed on some another column. So the SQL will this task will rank this question mark. So the first question mark will be ranked as a 0, and the second will be ranked as a 1. Not as a rank, it will number as a 0 and 1. Okay, and when we go back to this parameter mapping, so what we are trying to give here is that use this variable, and the direction will be input, and the data type as we are saying, and now how to map the parameter name, which means to which question mark you want to pass this data. Okay, so we have only one question mark in our SQL statement, that's why we are passing it to the 0 number.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so press OK, and now we are good to go.
What was that -1 something beside that parameter name?
Parameter size.
Okay.
Execute this package. And now we discuss something to that we will have 3 control flow. We will design the data flow, and after that we will have row count, and we'll do some work on variable, and then we will pass that variable value to the SQL table, and in the same time we will be deriving some value, and let's see if it is working or not. Okay, stop it, and now come back to the table. And let's see what is there in this table. Okay, so now here you can see that this value we inserted a sample value. Okay, that's why we are getting this, and this last row is we are getting from this Visual Studio or this package. So
Okay.
now for each run we will have a row count. Okay, now again come back to the SQL, sorry, to this Excel sheet. Again insert some new column here. Just copy some provider. Let's change this order. Okay, so now we have 832 orders here. Save it and again rerun this package. So what we thought is like it will just reload the source table. Let's see if it is working or not. We will go to the package, come back here and again rerun this. Okay, so now we are having a row count here. So it has processed 835 and 01, and the time is this, and in the last one it has this number of rows.
By 835, you added only one row, right?
Exactly. So we at that time I extended this table to some blank rows.
Ah, okay.
Okay, that's why it is getting some value there. Let's see what it has inserted into that table. And the table name was this. There must be some blank values here. Okay, you see? That's why we are getting. So now rerun this package and now we have deleted that blank value. Okay, so table is up to this point and now it should work. Go back here, rerun this. Again we are having this blank value. So it is due to the Excel, some due to error from the Excel, okay? That from the source it is getting some blank rows. Okay, so save this, let's close this. Again we done last time, again it is 735 rows and let's try one more time, because sometimes it happens is like it caches the some data. Okay, so when you retry or when you close this package and reopen this package, then it will work accordingly.
Okay.
Okay, again we are having 35, so leave it. We can work on this, like why we are getting blank. Okay, but the main task was to pass the variable, which was not to create a row count, but yes, to create a log table and how to create a variable and how to pass the variable value to some some SQL task. Okay, so today the main point was the main thing I was concentrated on is to use this SQL task. Okay, so now you in the first SQL this you did nothing but you truncated the table by simply providing a SQL statement, and in the second you inserted a value to a table, and the value you were taking from the variable. Okay,
Okay.
okay, so this was the task which we were discussing here, like and deriving a column on a conditional thing, which means we created SQL expression, and there we defined a simple conditional check. If the order amount is greater than 100, then we want true and false. Okay, and we did some execute SQL task. Okay, simple execute SQL task, which means truncating a table. And there we learn like how to connect a database and table where we want to execute, and working with variables like create a variable, pass the value from the row count to the variable, and use this value of a variable and write the variable value to a table. Okay,
Okay.
and I think we are left with this conditional split. Okay, so let's go back to the package and do some more conditional split here. Okay, so now I'll go back to the data and see how we want to split this data. So we are having here uh, order from 2015, 2016 and 2014. Okay, so we want this value in different table according to the year. Okay, so we
Okay.
want a separate table with order amount 2014, order amount 2015 and 16. We want three tables. Uh, and how, but we have same Excel source. And
Mm-hmm.
now from that Excel source, we will split the data according to the year, and then we will put the data into three different tables. Okay, so let's
Okay.
see how to use the next tool we call a conditional split. So that conditional split is available here. Okay, so drag it to the window and let's see how it works. So obviously we do not want this line, because before putting this data to the destination, we want to split the data, which means into three parts. Okay, so double click on it and configure this. So we will have three output for year, 3 years.
Yes.
So create first output and name it as YEAR 2014. Sorry. And this. Sorry, I'm doing some mistakes. Okay, we created a three sets, and how we will filter the data, because we will be getting a single source, and how we will filter the source table into three different destinations. For that, obviously, we were talking about the year, and for that, you just give me a second. First, I will create the expression. Because we were talking about the year, so first take the year function from this, and we will extract the year from which column? Order date. If its order date is this, if the expression is in red, obviously there is error. So hold a second, I'm just correcting that thing. Okay, now it's you got the color is changed from the to black. And why we are using double equal to? Okay, so in SSIS expression, when we use the single expression, single equal to, so we use that to assign a value. Suppose we have a x. So when we use x equal to 2014, which means we are giving a value to the x. Okay,
Right.
so when in that case we use a single x, and when we want to compare, in that case we will provide double equal to, which means the this part will also return the year from the order date, and that order date will be compared with this. If the order date, year of that order date is 2014, then that row will go to this set, the output set which we created 2014. Okay, so I'm just copying it and pasting to the different. Control D. And in this set we want to check the 15 if the order date, year of order date is 15, and in here we'll have 16. Okay, so we have considered this conditional split, and there will be last. Suppose there is a row which has year 2013, then that row will go somewhere, obviously, but that row will not go to these three sets. And the last, if there is a row other than this, which means there is a order, suppose there is an order with 2013, so that row will go to the default value. So we have a default output, which means uh, which will not satisfy above three conditions, then that row will go to the default output. Okay, so from this we will have four output. So before pushing the data into the destination, just take a look on it. Again, I will use the derived column to enable the data view. So from this conditional output, we will have four conditional split. We will have four output. Three will be from the 3 years, and the fourth will be the default output. So let's draw it. So now it will ask that which set you want to connect. So select this. Okay, so the fourth one is the default one. If any row which doesn't satisfy these three conditions, then that row will go to this.
Okay.
Okay, so enable the data view here for each line. Select the line and then enable data viewer. So, okay, so we are not now we are not pushing the data to the destination, but we just want to first see the data before. Uh, well, let's see. We got some error here. And yes, we were talking about some Windows things here. Now we will go to this progress, and there you will see what we got the error, how we will do on this. So slide it down and this, copy it and come back to the notepad. So you are learning so many things at the parallel at the same time, how to debug the code also.
Yeah.
So there is no hard and fast rule, but you have to read this line. Conditional split evaluated to null, but the condition for boolean result. Okay, so why we are getting this? Because at that previous design we were getting some null rows.
Oh,
Okay,
okay.
so it is saying that the date should not be blank. Date column should not be blank. Okay,
Okay. Mm-hmm.
so let's see how to filter out.
But it can put in the default one, right? I mean, even though if it is null or something.
No, for that the function will not work. There should be some
Okay.
value. This year will throw an error that you are giving me some null to find a year. So this year function will say how will I find the year for the null value. The function is throwing the
Okay.
error. So just delete this Excel source and recreate it. Oh, sorry, I took the destination. What happened? Okay, so insert the table itself. Okay. Now let's say I think that blank should go. Why we are getting that blank? Again, it is saying is related to null. So go back to that Excel sheet and data for demo. Just copy some part of it and create a new sheet so that it will eventually.
Those three, right?
Sorry,
No, no, nothing.
I'm just avoiding this order table because it is somehow giving some null rows. Okay, so I'm just changing this sheet with some data. Control S. Okay, so
I
what
got
I
it.
did is, yes, I changed the table or sheet, and there we are getting some. Okay, so we enable the data viewer for the first, so it pulled the whole thing on the pause mode, and now it is showing the data for 2014. Let's see if we are getting the data from 2014 or not. Okay, so the rows which we are having here is 2014. For 2014, it is saying that you got 28 rows. Okay, so now let's
Okay.
continue in the process. And for the rest of the thing, we are not getting the rows. Why? because in the Excel sheet I have created something. No, I didn't copy the whole data, but some part of it.
Yes. It has only 2014 data.
Yes, exactly. Now I'm getting the points. Let's take some again. Control copy. Go back here. Oh no. Escape. So stable with this. Control supplies. Sorry, I'm just repopulating the table with some values, some different values from the different years. Okay, so you might find some. Stop data. And now we run this again. Now we should get some rows from different years also. Okay, so now we are having values from different years. So here from 2014 we are having 152 orders, and from 2016 we are having 271 orders, and again the whole thing is working as per our condition. We are only having those from 2016. In the same way we are having here also. Okay, so at present we didn't have default value, which means if there is a some default row, okay, so then that will go to this. So let's create a new row into the source and see what it does. Insert a cell. Okay, and now change the order date. Make it some 2013. Now this row should go to the default. Okay.
Yes.
Now we are having. So this is from the 2014. Closures 16, and yes, this one is from the default output, the row which we created in the source from 2013.
Yeah.
Okay, so the conditional split is working as per our expectations. Okay, so in the same way we can have something like on the text search, like this statement has this value or not. If the company name is this, then we want that order, or we want that list of order in a separate table. Okay, so this was the example with the conditional split. Okay, so you can have the data into different destination. So for that you will create different tables here as per the years, and you will connect a destination here and create a destination here, and you will connect to the respective tables. Okay,
Okay.
so that part will we do in next class, or I think that's not required. Okay,
Okay.
because we got how to use this conditional split. Okay,
Okay.
and in that we are just providing the conditions for each row out, each data set out. Okay, so we have created three outputs, and for the different 3 years, and we provided the conditional thing. It's same with like when we working with the where condition of the T SQL. Okay, we want this row set select star where year equal to this one set, and in the same way select star from this where equal to 2015-16. Okay, so we're
Okay.
just segregating the data. We're just partitioning the not partitioning the data, but we are splitting the data from the single source to different parts. Okay,
Okay.
so mm, is there any doubt, or did we fast, or did we very slow?
No, this is good.
Okay, so the things were clear to you. I think that working with SSIS is this. So in the next class, we will now create some more complex package. Okay, we will add in next we will add some more conditional thing, like how we want. Now we got something here. Let's check the table also, because we run it so many times. Okay, so we have a log table here. Let's see how many ways it is showing here. Okay, so for each step, which means we have created a log table for that package. Whenever it will run, it will create a row here.
Okay.
Okay, so we have created a demo, and in that demo we have a simple problem statement, and we try to do all these things. So when you will be working in on a practical work, on a practical on a project, so this logging table will be there. So most of the time, then you will find that yes, I know how to log that in row count, or how to log the other details. It's not about the row count, it's about the other details. So you can pass the values to that variable other than the row count. Okay, and in the same way you can write those values to some table. So it's not about the creating a table, but it was about how to pass the variable to the SQL statement. Okay,
Okay.
so for today, I think it's what I think we have completed all the 4 tasks. Okay, conditional split we did a derived column with conditions, and execute and working with variables in SQL task, which means passing the variable value to the SQL task. Okay. So, and one more
Okay.
thing, in SSIS to write out that conditional thing, which means we use the expression. So, you can search on net like what are the SSIS expression. That is some programming or language which we use in SSIS. Okay. In the same way, when we will be working in SSIS, there we will have some new language. Okay. So
Okay.
each environment has its own working language, coding language. Okay, so there is no need to go first to go and learn that language. But if it is required, then learn the required value, required thing only. Okay, so you can learn side by side.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, so for now we should uh, close this class. Okay, and obviously next 2 days we'll be not having class, because next two will be the weekend. Okay,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and so you will be not there. So
Yes.
we'll be having a class on Monday. Okay,
Yes.
so Monday morning, and for me, I think that day will be the Tuesday morning.
Yes.
Okay, okay then. Bye bye, Kavita.
Bye. Take care.